Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org. Consequence and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, for checking out the series. Do hope you hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all the episodes that we put out. 3 brand new ones every single week, new one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Makes it a great way to keep up with your favorite artists, discover those new ones, and you can grab us Spotify, Apple Podcast, NPR, WFPK.org, Consequence, or of course, right here on YouTube for the video versions. Really, anywhere you get your podcast from, you can subscribe to Kyle Meredith with. That's me, Kyle Meredith, today talking with Joe Talbot of the band Idols about their album TANGK. We're going to get into the gratitude and the optimism that arrives on this record. We're going to hear about the music. It's a dance affair. We're going to hear about working with Nigel Godrich and Kenny Beats and a whole lot more. So I just want to jump straight into it. One of my favorite albums of the year. It's we're talking TANGK. It's Kyle Meredith with Joe Talbot of Idols.
Sweet. Hi, Kyle.
I know you've been getting a lot of compliments on this new record, and I just want to be another person who compliments you on it because it's one of my favorite albums of this year already. And it's fun, it's powerful, it's got the great emotions that I think you were going for. And 5 albums in for any band, and I think some get complacent, even though maybe they don't mean to.
Right.
But you all obliterated that. I mean, did you know what you were doing when you went into this record?
Yeah. Yeah. I always go every record. We know what we're doing. I think one of the things we always do is come at every album with intent. Part of the process of our album making. And one of the most important ones is the initiation, when I come up with a title and a theme, and then me and Bowen sit back and build a landscape on which that theme can dance. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, with every album, you have to come at it with intent. Otherwise, I think we'd fail as a band because we are very different human beings, and that intent or purpose is what drives us forward. And you end up writing for the song, not for your ego or for your audience. You write it for the song and the song's sake, because it has intention. There is a purpose to everything on the record, the way it looks, the typeface I choose, the lyrics, all the artwork, everything. I come at it with full intent every time.
See, that's what I wish from most artists, whether I'm talking to them or just a fan listening to it. And I'm not saying they're wrong the other way, but so many artists, they just kind of stumble into the record, like if it's a band, you jam around until it happens. I use that term loosely. If you're a pop artist, maybe you're working with it, but you just kind of fumble into it, it's like, and I think as a fan, for me, only speaking for myself, it's like, I love hearing if someone knows beforehand. Why is that romantic to me? I don't know, but it certainly is,
I think there's a sense of even if the artist chooses to make a song just for the sake of it, their intention is for the love of making music. That's enough for me. But there has to be some purpose to it other than money, I guess, or longevity, staying away from a normal job or whatever. I don't know how you think about it any other way, to be honest. Like, I assume there are people out there that have that, but the thing, it's not a well-kept secret, but this job is the best job in the world. And it's fruitful because it allows me a place, a safe place to express myself, explore myself, and enjoy myself. And as long as you don't read the comments, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. What's that term with pop, the Freud? Am I saying that right?
Freud and Freuder.
Yeah, oh yeah, the person who finds pleasure in another person's good fortune. I mean, hearing you talk about this job and then hearing that word and the phrase, you know, and what that means in this album,
Yeah.
like now that you've been touring this record some with this concept of our album of gratitude, I think is how you put it in the past.
Mm.
Like, have you still been able to tap in to that emotion? You know, all this stuff, because the album happens at one point and then life is lived and you know, things happen. But for the concept that you have in that and playing it on stage, do you feel that emotion still at when you're performing it?
Well, no, no, definitely not. Like the thing about my the songs that I write now, lyrically and melodically, I write them at the microphone, you know, I haven't got anything written. And what that means is the music writes it for me. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I've got all the words in my vocabulary. I've experienced all the things I've experienced up to this point. I am there already. And I guess the songs are written, and then you know the intent is there. There's thematics to the album. I know I'm writing love songs, and I enjoy that, and I enjoy it by writing lyrics to it and making it manifest outwardly. So then what happens is like it becomes a process of catharsis, and then it becomes another process of manifestation, you know, it becomes something new. And the reason why I feel we are successful live, as in when I say successful live, I mean we are quite fluent in our language live, is because we've learned to unthink. And when you unthink and you go on stage, there's a sense of transparency because it's just combustion in the air, you know, it's a magic that you cannot recreate. You just have to be there. And if I'm in a bad mood, you'll get a bad mood, Joe. But if I go out there and I'm happy, you'll get happy Joe. If I'm sad, you'll see sad Joe. I'm not performing a character, I'm performing the songs. And they take over, you know, and there's an energy to that. And I become the moment. And that's why we're successful, is because we unthunk live, and we manifest
Yeah.
together with the people in the room, and it's like it's a beautiful energy. But it's hard to explain. I don't think you know, that's why I didn't want to ever perform June live. It's because it's a song about my daughter's death, and like that was for me in that moment. I wrote that for me. I mean, I write everything for me, but that was like that moment alone. No one else gets it. That's mine.
That's yours. Yeah.
But everything else is meant to be lived in and bastardized and enjoyed in however you want to enjoy it. And I'll be there.
Yeah. Well, and you guys, I mean, I don't have to say anything new about your live show. It is a legendary live show. It is incredible what you guys do out there.
Thank you.
And it is interesting because I don't think that anybody comes to the shows like, what am I trying to say here? It's interesting to me, as we were talking about, as I was even asking about, when an artist presents a complete picture on an album,
Mm.
and that's one part of your life, and again, time passes, and it's almost like to represent that in any way later. Like, well, I guess what I'm saying is when a painter paints, that's what I did. No one expects that painter to be that person again and again and again, right?
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
something about being a musician where, you know, when I'm hearing pop, pop, pop and all that stuff, it's like maybe unfairly, there's a little bit of that expectation somewhere that
Mm.
that's still you right then.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing because if you imagine performing live is similar to the way I write most of the songs, even if it's not at the microphone in the booth. If I'm writing at home and I'm listening, what I'm doing is I'm listening to the song over and over and over again, and allowing it to make me feel, and then I write down how that feels. But that's the same live, so the music's the same as it was in the booth, as it is on stage, the same songs. So it's going to create a similar energy anyway. It's the same landscape.
Right.
So the dance will be similar.
With a dance, and yeah, teaming up with Nigel, with Kenny, and this sound that you all have created. Like, what did these kind of beats offer your lyrics that maybe you didn't have access to in the past, if that makes sense?
Mm. Well, I guess obviously I made I made half the songs,
Mhm.
I think the intent of this album was to create a dialogue of uncomplicated love. Love is not an abstract noun. It's not some wafer thin idea of romanticism. It's a very powerful verb. It's one of hard work, dedication, honesty, grace, empathy, patience, fortitude. And I wanted to come at that with power, a power that was taught to me by my mother, and then relearned by me through surviving many different things. And I had no doubt in my mind that this album was gonna be exactly what I wanted it to be. And it was very uncomplicated for me to talk about, because love is the most potent thing in my life, and I'm very grateful for it. So when I made the songs with the boys, it allowed me to explore the facets that maybe aren't explored without a sense of vulnerability, tenderness and forgiveness and grace, gratitude comes when you let love in, and I did. And the songs, they're the tone of them are softer. When you become a parent, you don't have to, but I have become softer. I've become firmer in my discipline, but I discipline my child with kindness, and I discipline her with patience, and I discipline her with love. And, when you start doing that on a daily basis, you start realizing that you could probably apply that grace and patience and empathy with your peers. And then when you apply grace and empathy with your peers, you can almost see yourself applying grace and empathy to your opposition. And then a conversation is had with empathy and grace. And you start to realize that those people that you could have so beheaded are actually just like you. They're just as scared as you are. They're just as tired as you are. They're just as hungry. Not always. Sometimes they're far more hungry and far more tired and far more scared. But when you come at things with empathy, you start to realize that we're all kind of wanting for the same things. You just, freedom of speech is the act of listening. And I feel like I just wanted to write songs to allow me to explore the softer side, so as to be not such a piece of work.
Man, if everybody, and I mean this, if everybody could come to that spot, maybe everybody needs to listen to an Idols record or make a record with Idols. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is though, I mean, and I think it's important to say is that, and you know, it's a thing a lot of people, especially on the right or the alt-right, like to say about people on the left, is that I come at a place of privilege. It's easier for me to come at a conversation with empathy because I'm not ravaged by oppression. But because I'm not ravaged by oppression and I am privileged, I see it as my accountability, my responsibility to come at everything with love and empathy because I'm given the grace of time and money. And I'm very grateful. And I want to show my gratitude by being loving and working hard at my art, which I'm very, very happy to do. And thank you very much for playing our music.
Absolutely. Well, I will say only to echo you and you know, with my own thought on one of the defining moments that I love about, I will say, being on the left, being on the progressive side, the defining trait to me is the caring outwardly about other people. And I'm trying not to say that as the backhanded thing that ultimately means how I think about the right is very much about the singular person.
Mm-hmm.
But that empathy, that's what I mean. If everybody can come to, because that's for me, that's why I identify with myself on the left as, you know, a progressive person. It's because I care about the people that I don't know, you know,
Yeah.
and
It's interesting if you come up, you know, like if you want to be subversive and use the Trojan horse kind of political theory of killing them with kindness, you know, if you treat a conversation as a bartering exercise where your ideas and their ideas are to be bartered with, you've got to share each other's ideas, and one of you is going to come out agreeing with the other. Let's say that's the game you got to play politically. One of you's got to agree with the other. If you come at that with empathy, it's like an open hand. It's kind of offering yourself as a vulnerability, you know, to be like, I'm here. I'm with open ears. Why do you feel that way? Why are you doing these things? You know, if you come at things with aggression, you're just gonna close people up, and they're not gonna listen to you no matter what you say. You know, I'm about to come and do a tour in America, and you know the narrative around the mass murder in Palestine right now is seems to be more of a conversation or contentious conversation in the States. And it's politicized how the murder of tens and tens and tens of thousands of people can be politicized. It's beyond me. But if I come at that screaming Viva Palestina, it will make me feel good. But that's not what that's about. I've got to come at it with empathy and grace. I mean, it's a very uncomplicated situation for me. I am gonna scream Viva Palestina forever, but you know, you got to come at these conversations. If I want, you know, people to read the right articles or to see more of the facts and to open up and maybe see that maybe there's more to it than what the right-wing press are letting on. They're more likely to read an article that I've got on offer if I come at them softly than if I just scream fascist in their face, you know? Yeah. So shit like stuff like that.
shit's fine. It's fine. There's the old whatever, the old thing about you know, how do you get me to unclench my fist? You can grab it and you can pull at it, or you can just ask me nicely to open it up.
Mm.
You know, which I always like that. You know, that's
Yeah.
just a great way to think about things. I love how those moments are applied on this album. Maybe even in it for like when I hear a gospel, you know, it's like here you are in what we're talking about as this outwardly thing, and when I hear the gospel, again, as a fan, I hear this as a sort of coming to peace with yourself or the narrator's self, you know, and those moments which would lead to this the subject at hand that we're getting at. I love those moments on here, and I really do. I think this is the best piece of art that you all have put out yet, and I say that as a fan of the 4 albums before it.
Mm.
If this, as has been said, I think at least once, if this record it might be the unfinished business of Crawler, is there still room to go, or does it go somewhere completely different from here?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I was asked a similar question, and I was thinking about the idea that are we going in the same direction? Because to me, Crawler was chapter 1, you know, of the new book. But like the direction is kind of many directions, you know. Crawler was us showing our gratitude for the amount of time and space we were given in a very tumultuous time, you know. People were losing their lives and their jobs and all sorts of horrible things, and we were very lucky. We knew we were going to come back to a beautiful audience that had built this house. So we showed that gratitude by challenging ourselves to be more lucid as artists and really explore who we are. And that means just transgression. It just means moving forward, you know? So for us, it is just, we're always going to now try and challenge ourselves, which hopefully will just mean that it's more and more chaotic as we go, you know? There'll be more ballads and Nordic Techno-Folk and stuff like that, you know? Whatever we fancy.
I look forward to it. I do.
Yeah, I do too. I'm excited for it. But yeah, you know, that hopefully that's all I mean, is that we're gonna just keep progressing.
Right. Well, I sure hope so. Again, I love what you all do. I love this record. I love the thoughts that come out of your brain, man. And I mean that. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it. It's been a real pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.